Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, welcome to the show. This is the Millennial Millionaire Podcast, and I am your host, Steven Cohen. This podcast is focused on bringing some of the wisest minds from across the globe to discuss concepts, strategies, and ideals that will lead them to be top performers in their respective industries and their lives. This show is for the millennials and millennials at heart to transcend their mindset, their health, and their income to the next level. We are so excited to have you on this journey with us. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the Millennial Millionaire Podcast. I'm your host, Steven Cohen, and I am super excited for today's guest. We have Edmund Bayard. Edmund is the founder of Cumquat Energy and Cumquat Solaire. He's known as the couch surfing to Ferrari surfing, and probably one of the most polarizing leaders in the solar industry. Dude, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I've been seeing you do your thing on here, and it's good stuff.
Thanks, dude. Let's make it happen. So, Edmund, for those that don't know who you are, I know a lot of people probably follow you on social media. They see the content, but give us a little background about who you are, how you got to where we're at, and then we'll hop into it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, who am I? That's a good one. I got into solar in 2019. I was 30 years old. I was training for my first amateur fight. And I was in the NFL club, not the good kind where you're making millions of dollars a year throwing a football around, but the NFL club, the no friends left and the no funds left. I was really that 30-year-old loser who was considered to be a dreamer from his hometown. Nothing had really ever worked out, but I didn't stop dreaming. And when I found out about solar, I was like, this is my opportunity. And it was just like, go, 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 go.
Dude, you took off super, super quick. I know you have a network marketing background.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, at least that I talk to, maybe started in network marketing or they have some type of like MLM experience where they got their feet into entrepreneurship. Do you feel like some of the skills that you learned in your early years of figuring out business translated well when you got into solar?
1,000%. You know, you can look at how my third year in solar, I made $2.6 million as a rep while getting stiff tens of thousands of dollars a week from the company. But you know, nobody's an overnight success. And so all of your experience you can use and if you're able to humble yourself, that was really my issue in my 20s. I couldn't, stay put or plant my flag. There was always an excuse for someone else's success and an excuse for my lack of success. And once I turned 30 and got into solar, I made a decision to, no matter what happened, wear the same shirt and be on the same team for 5 years, and to give more than I take without expecting anything back, and to just go build something.
I think a lot of people see you, Edmund, on social media, and they see the cars, they see the lifestyle, which you're great at. I really want to dive into branding and content and attractive marketing because I think you're one of the best in the game at it. But I don't think as many people realize when they meet you how well read you are, how well you've developed in terms of personal development and working so hard on yourself. Can you go over a little bit about your journey of self-discovery and personal development?
Sure. You know, the coolest thing about getting introduced to network marketing. For example, I was locked up at 18. I had my 19th birthday in jail, and I get out on Thanksgiving Day, and I become a personal trainer for $12 an hour, a 24-hour fitness. And I get invited to a meeting that turns out to be an Amway meeting, and it talks about the philosophies and the possibility. And I was born and raised with, Edmund, life's not that easy. Edmund, life doesn't work that way. I got lectured one day because I said that one day I'll live in a $2 million home, and my parents didn't think I liked the house we lived in. So on your way up, you know, a lot of people know everything and have nothing. They learn the philosophies, right? They say, I know. But what the most beautiful thing about actually like making your first million and all that is finding out how true the philosophies actually are, and finding out how amazing and beautiful and effective they are if you decide to live by them, if you really devote yourself to not just knowing the path, but also walking the path. There's a huge difference between the two, right? So back to you.
What do you think for you? Because I agree with you. I grew up in network marketing as well in terms of my professional development. Before that, I was a broke college student, similar to you. Had dreams, but no vehicle in order to take me from A to B.
Right.
And I started reading books like Ask and It's Given, Think and Grow Rich, learning these principles of success, learning like Jim Rohn and some of his philosophies. But for me, it took years and years and years to finally see the materialization of that in the real world. For you, what do you think the bridge was between understanding some of these ideas and learning some of these philosophies from books and from seminars and from content, but then actually applying them and seeing the results in your life?
Yeah, it gets really exciting. You know, personal development's a lot of fun, and there has to come a point in your life where you don't just do personal development, but it's productive activity over personal development. And personal development becomes the dessert. And it's what you do instead of like watching a TV show or hanging out with friends or doing all the things you guys think I do on Instagram, right? It's 90% productive activity and maybe 10% personal development. There's an hour in the field beats 40 hours in the classroom. There has to come a time where you're ready to go implement. But the thing is, everybody thinks they're coachable and teachable. Everybody thinks they've been to all the seminars, they've read all the books. Well, how come you're not, in Steven Cohen's shoes then? How come you don't have the Urus outside and whatever watch you want on the wrist? And how come you? So the results come when you really do humble yourself and start climbing your ladder of success, whatever it is. And then the philosophies are simple. Every book, shares them, but Think and Grow Rich. What a great book. I've read it 200 times.
Created more millionaires.
I probably still don't understand it. I have my perception of it, right? Your life is a direct reflection of your perception, your viewpoint. That's your life. I try to dumb it down for kids. And I look at my biggest strength and my biggest weakness, and I came up with, you're either getting paid or you're getting laid, but when you're getting one, the other's getting away, right? Chapter 11, Sexual Transmutation, Think and Grow Rich. How many kids out there do you know that have read Think and Grow Rich that have no idea about that chapter? So you gotta pay attention.
Yeah, there's also people out there that will literally take pictures of books and then put them away and not even read them, right? They care more about the perception of them reading books
You're not wrong.
versus the actual content of them doing it. And I think the biggest problem with that, especially now, I think when we started in network marketing, for me, it was 13, 14 years ago, social media wasn't as prevalent. It was starting to be a big thing, but Instagram wasn't Instagram. It didn't have stories. The level of content and information and doorways into people's life wasn't as prevalent as it is today. So you could get away doing that. But I think in today's world right now, where everyone is flexing, everyone is fake flexing, right? Yeah. Taking pictures on private jets without actually doing it. There's literally, I saw this, there's a studio in LA where you could literally take a picture of a fake private jet. I know you're a big PJ guy. I want to get into that. But it's so interesting because people are so caught up with the perception of what they look like versus working on themselves and doing the work when no one else is watching, because as Tony Robbins says, you're praised in public for what you're practicing in private. So
I love that. I always say success is found when no one's watching.
It's facts, dude. Let's talk about brand. From the outside looking in, I think one of the things that you do really, really well is your ability to brand yourself. You're one of the most entertaining people that I see in the solar industry, and some people can hate on it, but others can get inspiration depending on your view. So talk to me about your journey in terms of your social media brand and how important the concept is in creating a personal brand.
Sure, yeah. My philosophy is branding beats sales 7 days out of 7. Branding. You look at a purchase as an emotional, it's not a logical thing, it's an emotional thing, and you understand that. People buy from emotion, not logic. That's why we have iPhones and little 3 Series BMWs or C-classes or pickup trucks or whatever it is, right? It's why I have a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. So if you know that branding beats sales 7 days out of 7, or at least if you believe that, then how do you go off and brand yourself? A lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm allergic to Instagram. If you're on Instagram, you're a broke boy. You're still working, right? You're like, look at me, peacocking this and that and this and that. But you got to get eyeballs. My whole life I've preached the philosophies and no one cares. It gets 2 views. So how do you get attention? And it's a double-edged sword because people see the highlights on Instagram, but they don't necessarily want to do what it takes to get there or pay attention to that. But yeah, I would say ultimately if you want to win big, you got to pay attention to building a brand. You look at Ghost, they just sold for $1 billion to Dr. Pepper for only 60% of their company because they built a brand. You know, I think you were with Vima and Verve. He got a 9-figure offer from Pepsi because he built a brand.
YPR, baby.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the 21st century, it's you take yourself wherever you go. Yeah. You know, yes, we're building companies in the solar industry, but whenever solar is said and done, the relationships you created, what you've learned, but who knows you and what do they know you for is going to far surpass the thing that you're creating at this certain time. When it comes to social media, you said that, because I agree with you, I think it is a double-edged sword. It's great for your reach. It's great for recruiting and attracting and impacting, but it also can take your time. It can also suck your dopamine.
Yes. I mean, 99% of people are consuming social media. The top 1% creates. I'm allergic to social media. I could care less. My one of my favorite, quotes out there is Dick Marriott, rich and anonymous. Like, I can't wait to delete the app. But first I need to hit 1 billion. But yeah, if you're on social media just consuming everyone else's content and being like, oh, look at what Edmund did. Oh. I mean, child, please. It is what it is. Sucks to suck. Too bad. So sad. Thanks for tuning in. By the way, I appreciate all the praise, Steve. I want you and the audience to know, nobody really knows what they're doing in business. Like, I'm very new to this. I had 0 success at 30 to show for. And, when it comes to you and your company, Sunder and the guys over there, I look up to all of you guys. I mean, talk about doing real numbers. That's what you guys do. So it sucks when I hear all the time, like, oh, some people, hate and some don't, this, that. But for me, I take inspiration. Like, I remember when you guys joined Freedom Forever in August of 2019. And then I started seeing you guys climb. And I'm like, these guys are bad motherfuckers. And I actually turned to my partner, like, we should pay attention to what they're doing. They're doing something right. And so I think just being a student of the game and like recognizing where you potentially could be doing more, where you lack. And that's why I went hard on Instagram, because I was so allergic to it that I was like, it's the thing you hate the most in your business that you need to do more of. So even though I didn't, Instagram didn't build my little solar team and business, that was like being in the trenches, belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball with homeowners, teaching people how to freaking sell solar and going through the numbers and recruiting 100 people who all quit to find out one, to find the other one. I mean, you know what it takes to make it. They don't. But yeah, it's, success is not luck. Success is it's the decisions you make on a daily basis, right? It's up here first, and you either act as if, talk as if, tip as if. It's not called faking it till you make it. It's just, are you working? Are you thinking, talking, and working like a millionaire or a decamillionaire? I tell my guys, if you believe you're playing for it, you're playing for it. The society, your parents, your friends, your significant other, they all talk about you when you're not in the room, and they'll all shit on your dreams. I made $250,000 a month in solar as a rep, and I've had grown men and extremely successful people tell me, Cumquat, Edmund, are you serious? Okay, it's time to give it up. You're a good marketer. You're good at sales. Go back to making a couple $1 million a year working for someone. And I'll tell you, if you believe you're playing for it, you're playing for it. Don't let anybody talk you out of it. I don't know if I should look at you or the camera when I say that, but I mean that wholeheartedly. Fuck them all. If you believe you're playing for it, you're playing for it. And don't let the closest people to you that love you the most and blah, 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 that literally don't know better, that might not be playing for what you're playing for, talk you out of anything. And if I had done that, I sure as fuck wouldn't have made $250,000 a month in solar as a rep. Back to you, Steve.
Dude, it's well said. Let's talk a little bit about belief, because I think in our industry, we preach it all the time. You need confidence. You need self-belief. If you want to be successful, how do you cultivate belief? Because you don't start there, and it's something that you have to reinforce consistently, and you wouldn't be sitting in the position that you are, and neither would I if somehow, some way we didn't get to the point where we believe we deserve the life that we are now living. So how do you feel like we can cultivate belief for those out there?
Kobe Bryant, baby. Confidence comes from preparation. I mean, I played pickleball for $1,000 a point today, and it's like you've either put in the reps or you haven't. And it goes back to success is not luck. It's thousands of decisions on a daily basis. It's in moments of decision that your destiny is determined. I used to be too cool to say daily affirmations. I used to make fun of my friends that had vision boards when I was a personal trainer, and I benched 315, and I valued, I thought I was so strong. Now I value a little more mental fortitude, over lifting dumbbells. But you have to do the work. And the problem with belief is people are so weak that their belief is based on their current results. It's based on their current situation. It's based on how much money they have in the bank. And then they say, I can or I can't. And their excitement, their emotion, their enthusiasm is based on, if I gave one of my guys 50 grand, by the way, they all think they should get 50 grand and they would go off and do something. Child, please, right? But that's how people think. If you do the work, Kobe Bryant, he said a lot of things. He's a great person to study, by the way. He was fluent in many languages, one of the hardest workers out there. All those guys will tell you there's no such thing as talent. But Kobe Bryant talks about how confidence comes from preparation. He also talks about it's not the hours you practice, but it's the quality of the hours you practice. So, yeah, just got to put in the work. The work is a great separator. And people get excited. They see you, they see your Urus, they have dinner with you, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to be I don't know if you guys preach Solar Millionaire or Six Figures, whatever the heck.
Solar Millionaire, let's run it.
Yeah, but then they go knock a few doors, get their teeth kicked in, and they're like, yeah, maybe this isn't for me. And then they listen to the birds that are like, dude, what are you doing knocking doors? Like, are you serious? Do you even have benefits? Like, what? And yeah, the birds get to them, but the birds only get to the weak.
So do you just need to have a strong enough vision? Like, how do you, because I agree with you, how do you avoid that? Because we've all seen people, whether you're in the solar industry, maybe you're working a 9-to-5 that you're sick of. Like, there's people out there that have this vision of success. They want the nice things. They want the freedom.
You know who it is? It's the people that are dumb enough. I was dumb enough to become successful. I had delusional optimism. I was so dumb that I literally thought I could make $100,000 a month in solar. I didn't realize I'd make it per week, but people are too smart to become successful. And you want to talk about belief? What does belief really come from? It comes from references. It comes from references, and you get to control that. I believe one of the reasons I became one of the highest paid reps in the industry is because I was dumb enough to do it. I didn't want to pretend that I knew what freedom should do and all these installs. And every year when everybody told me they're the worst installer in the world, I was like, well, I'm just going to focus on sales, recruiting, and training. You got to just the best leaders are the best followers. You got to practice a little humility. Maybe not on the gram, but success is found. What can you control? Focus on that. And your belief comes from references. So are you hanging out with a bunch of broke boys? Are you consuming social media? Are those your references? Because society's programmed to distract you $250 billion every couple fucking minutes to keep you living in fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So where are your references? I study the greats. I get inspired by other people's success. I don't make an excuse for why you guys came in and crushed it. I mean, people were making excuses for that. I was like, fuck that. No, they have better leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. I don't know those guys, but I guarantee you there's substance there. I guarantee you They're doing something. And honestly, I'd love to learn it so I can get better results. If you do what they did, you'll get what they got. It is what it is. And I'll tell you guys, in business, nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. But if you can do what you say you're going to do, and if you can at least show up, you're right away putting yourself in the top 5%. Then you do it with a good attitude. Oh my God. It's unbelievable what you can accomplish over time. I'm going to give you one of my formulas for success.
Tell me.
And write it down. Commitment and consistency over time beats talent and skill. Doesn't matter. I had 0 door knocking experience. I had 0 solar experience. None of that shit matters. You're going to learn it. You're going to acquire this skill. We could all put our dicks on the table right now and be like, oh, I can sell more than you. And I'm sure your guys have done that with you probably. Like, what does Steven do? He doesn't even sell anymore. Listen, sweetheart. You can sell solar better than me, which, by the way, obviously, you don't think anybody can sell better than you or this or that, and it doesn't matter anymore. But it takes a lot more than just being the best at something to actually go all the way.
For sure.
Right? How about contributing to a cause? How about adding value to the marketplace and to other people? How about knocking a door with the same team for 5 years? All of those things I think have contributed tremendously to your success.
Yeah, and to your point, I think true leadership is you want more for your guys than you want for yourself, right? If you help enough people get what they want, you get what you want by default, as Mr. Zig Ziglar talks about. But no, I love the concept of the reference points, what you brought up. I just did a training for some of our guys about the frequency chart. I don't know if you have seen this with the lowest is like rage and angst, and then it goes all the way up to love and gratitude. And, it starts at 250 as a low frequency and then goes all the way up to 800. And there's a great quote that says that, your frequency is what you frequently see. And the best way to change your frequency is to change your reference point. It's who you're comparing yourself to. It's who you're surrounding yourself to. Most people are out there, whether you're knocking doors, dealing with homeowners that hate their life in most cases, or they're at the supermarket, or they're at the airport getting yelled at by TSA. Whatever the case is, most people are vibrating at such a low frequency because they're in fear, they're in angst, they're in a scarcity mindset because we've been conditioned to be like that. So if you are associating and consuming all of that throughout your day-to-day, it's lowering down your frequency. So there's no wonder why you're not able to go out there and have a breakthrough in terms of results. So reference point is huge, just being mindful of the information and energy that you allow into your psyche.
Beast. And I love how you mentioned how the highest one is gratitude. I regurgitate this to myself every day, but I tell my guys too, if you stop practicing gratitude on a daily basis, it's only a matter of time till you join another solar company. It's only a matter of time till you look left and right and this and that. Practicing gratitude is actually what will help you stay wearing the same jersey for 5 years. And that, for most of you guys, is what it'll take for you to make a little bit of money.
That's true, dude. I've been doing solar for going on a decade, and I've done it with the same group of people for all 10 years.
And that right there, there's honestly nothing cooler than that.
100%. Let's pivot a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about your lifestyle, Edmund, because I think it's interesting, and I want to pick your brain about it. So you flew private here on a PJ.
Yeah.
Tell me about why it's important to fly private.
Okay, I can go into it. We're all wired different. For me, it's extremely important. I want to buy a plane at the end of this year. And, I remember renting all the little Lamborghini Huracans and stuff and being like, wouldn't it be nice someday to own this? So,
Dream building.
For sure. There's something special about flying 25,000 feet in the air and just being able to dream. So I absolutely love it, and I like spending money. I like staying uncomfortable. You're either growing or dying. And the last thing I want to do is be like, oh, I'm retired. Child, please. We all work for the rest of our lives. We all do. And the 3 most impactful decades of your life will be your 50s, 60s, and 70s. That is where you will have your best work. A lot of people at that age are still working to pay bills. What do you want your work to look like? How impactful do you want it to be? How much do you want to give? Back to you.
When you talk about spending money, I think it's interesting. I want to kind of double tap on this a little bit. You have two types of people, and then some people in the middle. I think I fall myself in the middle. You have, it's not a spending problem, it's an earning problem mentality, which I 100% subscribe to. You can always make more money, but you can only save to zero. But you also have people that are pretty reckless with their money, and they're still living paycheck to paycheck, even though their income increases. When you talk about spending money and you enjoy it, that's awesome, because it sounds like you have an abundance mentality where money is energy. And if you allow it to come, then you let it go and it reciprocates and more comes. Talk to me about your relationship with money and what people need to know about it.
Well, my philosophy on money, money doesn't lead. It flows to people that know what to do with it. To me, it's not even really that real. It's just some,
They print it.
Yeah. And I would say a lot of people want to like hit it big with some coin, right? Or XYZ. And I would focus on cash flow. Cash flow is pretty important. And what's nice is just getting to a position where you are starting to just view money a little differently. And it'll make you a lot more of who you are too, which is interesting, right? It's right up there with oxygen. You can't do much without it, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of sayings on money. I think money brings out who you really are. You see how people act once they start getting their bigger checks. But yeah, I'm super focused still to this day on cash flow. But I would encourage people out there, versus buying a little house or having XYZ investment, like invest in yourself, invest in your self-image, like get a little watch on the wrist. It's a savings account. Maybe build your Instagram page up. It just depends. If you're in sales is the highest paid, hardest working profession on earth, and it's the easiest paid, lowest working profession on earth. Branding beats sales 7 days out of 7. Like, I spent so much time, energy, and effort on my social media. But when I started Cumquat, I raised $500,000 at a $25 million valuation. That's what branding can do, right? I had every single last $100 millionaire, billionaire that I know offering me $1, $2, $3 million. Just wasn't at the evaluation I wanted. I was kind of insulted, so I didn't take the money. But that's what branding will do.
Love it. Have you always been motivated by materialistic things, or was it when you started actually making really good money that the luxuries started to get something that you were passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, people want what they don't have in a way. You'll outgrow it really quickly. And if you're doing it for the money, you'll never make it, right? Like, if you won't do it for $500, you'll never do it for, you work a lot harder for your first million. And people work harder for $1,000 than people work for $1 million. It's easier to make 10 than it is to make $1 million. I wear all the materialistic stuff for the kids, but yeah, if it were up to me, I wouldn't even have a watch on the wrist, and I'd be Laura Piana up, and I'd just be chilling. And I look forward to that phase of life and leadership. I'm just not there yet. Yeah.
It's kind of like the Ty Lopez, everyone asked him, they're like, dude, if you're so passionate about personal development and getting people to read books, like, why are you flexing your Lambos? And he's like, well, the only way I get people to pay attention to the books is to show them the Lambos, which is true. I think there's a few different levels of motivation, and I'm still motivated by materialistic things. I want nicer things, nicer house, nicer car.
But you have it all.
It's not my primary focus.
Like,
yeah, but I think you also need to get it in order to realize that it's not something that you want, right? It's kind of like the people that say, hey, money doesn't matter. It's like, well, let me go find out. Let me go find out first, right? Money won't make you happy. Like, let me go try, and then I'll let you know if that's
my relationship with my parents is amazing. It's better than I could have ever dreamed of, and I'll tell you, money has a lot to do with it. Money will literally bless your family. And people that say money isn't everything don't have any. That's all I have to say about that.
I agree, dude. When it comes to cultivating high energy. You know, whether you're on the gram or just the times that we've interacted in person, you've always had a very permeating high vibration and high energy. And I know you focus on health quite a bit. How do you balance that with the lifestyle that you live? Because you live quite a crazy lifestyle. You're always on the road. You're, out there making content, enjoying the good life. How do you balance that with making sure you're taking care of your body and maintaining that high energy?
Health is wealth. It's everything. One of my philosophies is the 3 E's: excitement, emotion, enthusiasm. You got to inject and infect people with excitement, emotion, and enthusiasm so they don't eject and reject you. But yeah, it all comes from the inside. You are what you eat. A lot of people, it's sad and it's hard in America. It's almost impossible to be healthy. So another good reason to make some money, fuck the LV or the Chanel, but hopefully you can, afford to buy real food.
So what's some things people need to know about health? I know your parents are both holistic doctors out of Oregon.
Yeah,
so
they've been practicing a long time. They have the biggest herbal pharmacy in the Northwest, and they're super, super passionate. They're still students. Their whole life is just devoted and dedicated to medicine. Yeah.
What do you think of the RFK movement and Make America Healthy Again?
I'm so excited about it. I hope that he gets, far. I know there's a lot of very powerful companies and people that don't want to see him do a fraction of what he intends to do. So definitely, grateful to see it, and I want to, be as big of a part of that as possible. That's one of the things, money can really help you. I mean, some of us want to start, animal shelters, or what are you passionate about? Money is going to help you accomplish some of that.
Yeah, it gives you options.
Absolutely.
When it comes to maintaining a high frequency or energy, are you eating certain things? Are you doing certain practices? Is it a sleep routine? Like, what are some things? Because, for people that follow you, you live sometimes a crazy lifestyle, right? You're out there partying, you're doing your thing. Obviously, you're working, you're blitzing, you're doing all these things. And for the average person, they may not be able to hold that state and still produce and perform.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm on 2 hours of sleep for like the last week right now. It's the decisions you make on a daily basis. You talk about what do I put in my body? How about what I don't put in my body, right? Also, you only have one body. You should take care of it. Your adrenal glands, pretty important. Look at ways to replenish them. Energy is finite, and it's one thing, to be cute on the gram and to yell and to do this and to do that. But how do you ground yourself, and how do you sustain? Because at the end of the day, the turtle wins the race. So you got to have that intensity. You got to do your incremental sprints. But ultimately, people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and way underestimate what they can do in 10.
Well said, dude. It's that consistent compounding of just doing the right things that you should be doing. You wake up and your body looks the way that it should be. Your business looks the way that it should be, and spiritually you feel grounded.
Yeah.
For you, Edmund, how do you stay spiritually grounded? You put a lot of external outputs out there.
Yeah.
How do you make sure you don't allow the outside world to conflude your inner focus and your inner grounding?
Yeah, it's tough because I don't want to be too grounded, and I battle with this because I don't want to become unrelatable to the masses. And so during my sales career in this phase of my life, this season, if you would, I kind of intentionally try to stay in the middle. I grew up pretty, interesting childhood. I was born and raised in France. I was a raw vegan. I used to meditate every day. I used to practice yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong. And so I, over the years have been able to harness a little bit of that. I'm also a classically trained violinist, so I'm able to play classical music. And
it's pretty legit. I've seen it.
It's somewhat of a blessing at times. Also, there's pros and cons to every situation.
100%, dude.
But you got to find gratitude, right, for your childhood, for everything that's happened to you in life, right? Has it happened to you or for you? And can you turn whatever it is into the reason why you must succeed, right? And can it give you fuel? Too many people out there are blaming their parents, right? Too many people out there upset with mommy and daddy. You got to let go in order to grow. If you don't let go and if you don't learn, then the same shit repeats itself. The lesson is, if you don't learn it, it's going to keep chasing you. If you want to get to the next level, the first thing you need to do is forgive yourself and everybody in your life and smile, take accountability, and start climbing your ladder of success, baby.
That's it. You know, they talk about that true freedom happens when you can look at the worst thing that happened to you and turn it into the best thing that happened to you.
Amen.
Because you're able to reframe the situation, because like you said, there's people out there that are blaming their childhood. Maybe they're blaming their parents. Maybe they're blaming the education they got or that they didn't got. But in reality, everything that's happened to you has brought you to where you are right now. And which is amazing. And everything that you have in your life is a sum of the decisions that you've made up until this point. So if it's on you and you're not blaming your parents, circumstances, the environment, who's in president, who your manager is, your upline, yes, you're giving the power away to those individuals. You have to take the full ownership of the situation, not because it makes you feel better, but because that's the only way that you can actually take the power to change it.
And everything you just said there, I hear you, and I'm just like, yes. And I just feel like there's a lot of people out there that just won't hear the words you just spoke the way I heard them. And that's where your perspective, your viewpoint makes you or breaks you.
Yeah. It's like, you know, reading the same book twice. You can read the same book twice, but you're a different person, so you absorb different things. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about an interesting topic, but dating and girls and just what the man, the entrepreneur man, I think, you know, you have a lot of people that look up to you in your company and probably people that have worked with you in the past, some on the younger side, some around our age. What advice would you give to the young person out there, the young male, about maybe success, maybe chasing females, chasing materialistic? What would you say?
Well, don't chase females, let them chase you. But yeah, read chapter 11 in Think and Grow Rich, Sexual Transmutation. Most men don't acquire success into their 40s and 50s because they're not able to harness their sexual energy. And, you know, you don't need to be doing all this and all that when you're in your 20s. You need to stay down and build. You know, you're either getting paid or you're getting laid. But when you're getting one, the other's getting away. And this whole little, like, relationship and whatever, like, it's time to marry your business and your purpose and to be driven. And I promise you, when you become more, you will attract more. You know, you can either marry your little high school sweetheart, and there's nothing wrong with it. And if that works for you, that's great. Behind every great man, there's a greater woman, and that's a great recipe for success, and there's exceptions to every rule. But at the end of the day, when you build yourself up, when you become a 7-8 figure entrepreneur, your significant other is going to look way different. They may come from a different family, a different background. They're going to compliment you. You attract who you are. So build your empire, king, and don't, you know, rush into anything, and make it very clear with whoever you meet. There will be nothing that gets in the way of your success. Like for me, if I'm dating someone, it's very clear that we're good as long as you're not getting in the way of my work. And you got to set those boundaries. And people will respect it and actually kind of be drawn to it. But yeah, you don't want to chase anybody in life, right? You just want to become more desirable to the marketplace. And the same thing goes for dating, obviously.
I think that's really if we can sum up a lot of the conversation, like the key into growing spiritually, physically, mentally, financially is really just focusing on yourself and letting go of all the external circumstances, letting go of all the things that you can't control, letting go of all the things wrong in your life or all the things that you're not happy with, you feel unjust, and just focus on what you can do about bettering yourself. I know we both relate when it comes to Jim Rohn, but the reason I really have resonated with him because his philosophies are very simple, but they're all self-driven. It's never about, hey, you need this strategy or that technique, or you need to wait for that to change, or that needs to change. It's more, the only thing he focuses on is you need to change. You need to get better. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And I think if more people took more of that selfish approach in life, when people think of being selfish, they think of something negative, which isn't true. You know, the opposite, actually. If society says that being selfish is bad, well, who is really being selfish if society thinks that you should care more about them than care about yourself? They're actually being selfish.
You have to be selfish with your success.
You have to be. It's the only way to be selfless.
You mentioned Jim Rohn, one of my favorite quotes, and I know you know it, but it'd be interesting to know how many of your guys know it or understand it, and the audience. It's not the blowing of the wind that matters. It's the set of the sail. It's not the blowing of the wind that matters. It's the set of the sail. So beautiful.
No, I love it. Let's talk about setting the sail a little bit, because I think when, people see social media highlight reels, they see all the greatness. They see the PJs, they see the Lambos, they see the Rolls Royces, the watches, the lifestyle, but they don't see what it took in order to get that. They don't see the sacrifice. They don't see the challenges. They don't see the credit card debt and the bankruptcies and all the things. I know you just went through a season of your business where you had a bit of a valley that you had to climb out of and bounce back.
Massive.
Talk a little bit about what that took, who you had to become, and what people can glean from that experience that maybe are in that lower pit of their life right now.
Yeah, it's, the philosophies are true, and at every level, when I first started in solar, I was at a negative $63 bank account, and my credit cards were maxed out, and I was 2 months late on my mortgage. And the thing is, everyone starts out in a difficult situation, right? People ask you for money every week, blah, 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 blah. The difference with me is I took a screenshot of that, but I never talked about it or shared it until I was making a couple $100,000 a month, and I was on stage, and I was able to use it as like an impactful message that could potentially inspire someone. But meanwhile, I took the screenshot and I got to look at it, and I mentally said never again, and I started and I never stopped. And so people that are talking about their past aren't doing well in the present. You don't need to tell people how poor you are. I tell my guys, you guys are all millionaires. You're just a little cash poor, but you're only poor, up here. Really, think about it. And you got to act and talk and think like a millionaire before you become one. So there's no situation that will hold you back. Whatever situation, turn it into the reason why you must go. I want to talk about women for 2 seconds because, I date a few girls here and there. And the reason I post girls on my Instagram is pretty sad. It's pretty bad. It's pretty superficial. But I could literally post substance and nobody would watch. And I post a girl and I have 10 to 15 kids that want to join the next day. Women are the highest commodity out there. Above a watch, a car, above, there's a lot of men with money that don't necessarily have women, right? But if you've mastered sales and the philosophies and this and that, it's pretty easy. So, that's kind of why I post it. And it's not, it's one of the most basic, lamest forms of leadership. I don't think there's any leadership involved. It is a season of my life. But yeah, most of what I do is for the kids. I still rock the LV for the kids. I still post, and I think we're getting to a point to where we're coming on the other. We're gonna step into more.
Almost there.
We're gonna step into more of a Steven Cohen leadership role, but we're just, we're still working on it.
Well, we all have our different target audiences as well, right? You're a great recruiter, you're a great enroller, you're a great attractor, and the content that you put out is polarizing and is mesmerizing to a lot of people, and you get a certain clientele, and it works. So I think to each their own. It's understanding the market that you're trying to touch. And we are in the direct sales space, and in our role, it's all about attraction, right? We don't want to be the hunter. You want to be the hunted. You need posture and frame. And the way that you can attract people is by showing them that you have walked a path that they want to walk. And that's why they want to follow you.
Yeah. But you know, my top producers have been like good married men that live a great life. And I think they just are able to see past the bullshit and get to the substance. And that's why we partner up and do business together. But I have hope for the young Edmund, right? Who can potentially be attracted to something, come in, and then get exposed to the philosophies and do the work. But yeah, speaking of which, if I can share,
Please.
It's almost a miracle that I've made any money in solar. I still don't know what solar is. Starting my solar company, I've made so many mistakes, picked all the wrong installers, lost millions of dollars, went backwards 5, 7, 8 million in net worth. And I can't tell you how many $3,000 to $5,000 dinners I've had in town with like the networkers that I used to look up to that were making the 100, 200 grand a month back in the day, knowing that they're just as retarded as I am, but not even as hungry, and they're never going to learn how to knock a door or sell solar or do anything. And I love a quote that says, in order to dine with the classes, you want to cater to the masses. And at the end of the day, all these kids, they just want to live life on a different level, right? The lifestyle. So I'm actually launching a lifestyle company this year that will give people access to events, travel, lifestyle, and also education and high-ticket items like solar and insurance and mortgages. So I'm really excited to do all of that with the Cumquat brand, and it's actually always been a dream of mine. So I got out of jail, and I got into network marketing, and I was 2 weeks at Amway. And then Ryan Blair, CEO of Visalis Sciences back in the day, walks into the gym. I train him, tells me about Visalis. And before you know it, I qualify for this Visalis BMW. And I roll up to my parents' house, and they're like, oh, my God, Edmund, are you selling drugs again? And I'm like, no, Mom, it's just like the dope game, but it's legal. You pay taxes. I'm selling weight loss. It's great, blah, blah, blah. And that's when she told me my biological father in France, who I don't know him. I was 3 years old, whatever. But he is CEO of his own network marketing company called Accio, does a couple $100 million a year. So it's in the blood. And I've always had a dream of owning a network marketing company, which I think everybody thought Apricot was kind of MLM-y network marketing, but we never got paid unless glass hit the roof. There's no initiation fee, membership fee. You're missing out on all that. So now that I have my own thing, I'm really excited to take things in that direction and to position not just me, but my guys, right? You help enough people get what they want, you'll get everything you want in return. I want to be able to make sure that everyone has cash flow despite of installs. So no longer just at the mercy of an installer, but we control a lot more of our own destiny with, I don't want to call it IML 2.0, but we're going to blow up.
Love it, dude. That's exciting.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk a little bit about lifestyle. I see you got the black card there, which you've been super excited about, which is a big accomplishment for a lot of people. I have not got one yet, so eventually maybe I'll get on that level. But talk to me about the power of leverage, the power of credit, and why that is important. Yeah, sure. And
the coolest thing about hitting your goals is outgrowing your goals, right? And it's just whatever season of life you're in. I want to buy a plane at the end of this year. I think it's a broke boy plane. Like, I'm already on to the next plane before I even bought the first plane.
Plane or a jet?
Yeah, it's an 850 Challenger, right? It's the same cabin size as a G5, but it's not a global plane. It stays in the United States, right? Leverage is everything, right? And all this is a little status symbol, right? But I have friends that have spent $20-30 million with Amex that don't have it, that are actually like, how the heck did you get it, Edmund? Right? It's a pretty exclusive card, and Amex doesn't disclose their algorithm on how to get it, right? So it is really for HNWIs, high net worth individuals, which I am not a high net worth individual, by the way. But you can definitely, if you have a goal, you can work towards it and achieve it. And I really found that, right? Like, I wanted a blue check mark back in 2019 when nobody had one, right?
Before you could pay $15 for them.
Right, exactly. You know, all these goals, if you become goal obsessed, and you get better references, you network. You know, one of the things I've done and I'm most proud of, I guess, and grateful for is my network. I have access to a lot of high net worth individuals. They're my friends today. Like, how many PJs have I been on? How much cool shit do I get to do? And how do you get friends that are 10 years ahead of you? You have to add value, right? If someone, like, if you're going to lunch with Steven, you need to pay for that lunch. You need, like, if you want to get invited to anything again, you need to be somebody that's like kind of cool to be around, right? So go out of your way, even if it's your last $27 to pay for the smoothie or whatever it is. I would say that's pretty important if you value mentorship, right? The teacher appears when the student's ready, but you got to like build yourself up to a point to where you're desirable enough to just like be in the room. This watch right here connected me to one of my best friends and mentors who helped me get a 5980 for my birthday, which most of them won't even know what that is. Gifted me this wallet when I started Cumquat. Wanted to give me $1 million, but I didn't accept the evaluation, and I said, I'll talk to you when I can justify a $100 million valuation. But, you know, the guy has 3 planes, 15,000 employees, a $500 million plant in Houston with solar on it. And it's like the only way we're really good friends today. But what did I have to do? How much money did I have to spend to be able to get into those rooms? And so if you talk about lifestyle and blah, 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 and yada, yada, whatever, a big reason for me, a big reason behind, you know, 5K dinners or 30K experiences or, you know, dropping 80 grand to be on Necker Island 2 months ago, a big reason for that is just to be in the room, to be able to play chess with Richard Branson, to meet, anyways, the list goes on and on and on.
Now for the networking, because I want to stay here for a second, I agree. The watches, sometimes the cars, sometimes the lifestyle gets you in rooms, right? That's why you need to stay at nice hotels, obviously, even before you could really afford it. All the things. Do you feel like the actual relationship itself is the valuable part of networking, where potential business deals, potential investments, etc.? Or do you think it's just associating with them to raise your belief that they're no different than you, therefore you can accomplish what they've accomplished?
I mean, you hit on 2 great points, all the above. I mean, you get inspired when you hang around greatness. And then if you're a boss like you're like, well, if they did it, I can do it too. You raise your awareness, you raise your standard, the expectations of the norm, new references, all the above. And then, you know, leadership, I think, is giving and serving without expecting anything in return. Because at the end of the day, people say no, people quit, and leaders leave. Okay, they're all going to quit. So if you give without expecting anything in return, then you're never going to be disappointed, right? And you can just keep being you. But the law of reciprocity is real. And so you give, and maybe you don't see anything back from it, but it's okay because you gave out of the kindness of your heart, and it's, you know, it feels good to give, by the way. It feels good to pay for lunch or dinner. But then that special person will come into your life and reciprocate, maybe open a door, maybe share something with you, and it can be, you know, it can be everything.
Well said, dude. Let's talk about Cumquat Energy a little bit. Yeah. So, you know, simultaneously to launching your solar company, you launched an energy drink, which you had at your previous company as well. What's the why behind bringing a physical product like an energy drink?
Yeah. I mean, so far it's just, you know, cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars down the drain. But it is a passion project as far as health goes, because I was able to pick every ingredient. But also it just comes back to branding beats sales 7 days out of 7. And I love energy drinks. You know, I don't want to drink synthetic caffeine, but I like, but yeah, the plan is, you know, you look at Celsius, they got $15 million from a billionaire, squandered it, go bankrupt. The billionaire's like, do I double down and maybe get my money back or whatever? Gives them another 30 million, they blow up, right? You put 10 grand into Celsius back in the day, you're up 500K. You look at my favorite energy drink that I built my solar career off of is Runa. They got bought out by Pepsi for $400 million. They barely did any sort of like branding and marketing. Amazing drink. And today it's like no longer around. Pepsi like just fucking ruined it right away. And then we were talking about Ghost. They just got bought out for $1 billion by Dr. Pepper. For me, I'm excited to, in solar this year, I'll probably make close to $10 million. We're crushing it. The parents are like, well, you should buy a house. You should, I'm dumping all of it plus some back into the brand. Thankfully, I don't have kids. I don't have a mortgage. I'm still homeless. Everything's going to be okay. I can always go work for you if it doesn't work out, right?
We'll be here.
Hopefully you'll bring me in. But yeah, I'm dumping it all back into the brand because I believe Brandon Beats sells 7 days out of 7. And my dream is to be the official drink of the Las Vegas Raiders. My dream is to rename the Allegiant Stadium the Cumquat Stadium. And I want to be in every grocery store and gas station, not just in America, but in the world. A Cumquat, I originally started the company as a fuck you to my previous business partner. But it's also a symbol of prosperity in Southeast Asia. And I don't know if you know Adam Newman's story, WeWorks. You should watch it on Apple TV, and there's a documentary. But WeWorks, it's office space. He ended up getting a sizable investment from Malaysia, $4.4 billion. So all the money's coming from Malaysia. That's where I plan on raising hundreds of millions, hopefully billions. But yeah, Cumquat Energy, this year last year, which was tough because there's no solar money coming in as Titan went under and every other installer robbed Peter to pay Paul and didn't pay us. But we sponsored a Division I soccer team that won out of like 250 teams. We sponsored a Formula 3 car. We don't get a return on any of this, right? I'm just throwing money away. A lot of people would say, this kid's retarded. But if you believe you're playing for it, you're playing for it. And I'm playing for a lot more than just being financially free in my little $3 million home and having a little like $10 million, thing that makes me 6% a year and blah, 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 blah. Don't want that. I'd love for, 1,000 people to have that are excited about it. But yeah, the true vision and game plan is to open doors with Cumquat Energy. And to make it fun and lifestyle. And we're going to come out with more flavors because unfortunately it's so healthy, people don't like it. So I'm coming out with a black label this year. That's actually going to be after one of our guys that's 19 years old that wows me. I think he's like me. He's just dumb enough to actually potentially go all the way and make it and become one of the highest paid reps in solar with our model. And then eventually I want to create flavors for B-lists and other like maybe celebrities that I end up developing relationships with to where potentially they like their flavor that they developed and they go and promote the brand more. But then again, guys, this is a 10-year play. And we could look back at this and be like, wow, Edmund was delusional, or, that idiot figured it out.
Time will tell.
Yes. Time either promotes you or exposes you, by the way.
That's it. Dude, one thing I really admire about you, Edmund, and just the hour of us talking, I'm picking it up a lot. You almost kind of have like this delusional optimism about money and having an abundance mindset where most people in a position, when you make some money, you go into hoarding mode, like you said, right? You're trying to invest, you're trying to save for a rainy day, you're trying to protect your wealth to reach these goals where you're complete opposite. You're all offense all the time, which you have to have an abundance mindset in order to operate like that. My question, where does that come from and how can more people tap into that energy?
Your life is a direct reflection of your identity. So how do you identify? I identify as a billionaire. I've studied companies. Uber lost $1.8 billion last year. Their CEO still made $50 million. companies bleed. At the highest level, they bleed, bleed, bleed. I don't know if you guys have heard of Elon Musk or anything.
I think so.
I don't know how much money Tesla made their first 10 years. But yeah, just become a student of the game and decide what it is you want. And I have so much respect for the, dad that works a 9 to 5, that comes home, that spends time with his kids, that shows up to the soccer game, and that's happy. We all have our own definition of happiness. For me, happiness is progression in the areas of life I love the most. For me, happiness is discipline, it's restriction. But your life is a direct reflection of your identity. And you just have to find out what it is you want and who you are. And your superpower is going to be to not give a fuck. The opinions of others do not have to reflect your reality. It's okay if they're laughing at you. Let them laugh. Who cares? And, if you have $500 to your name right now, I recommend you go and treat yourself to a nice steak dinner or something you're excited about. Because $500 ain't going to do fuck all for you. Actually, $1 million isn't either. But this isn't coaching and mentoring for like the average person. This is for someone who wants more. So decide what you're playing for and just go for it.
Well said, dude. Edmund, as we wrap up, appreciate you coming on, dude. My last question is, if you can go back in time, the Edmund today, flying on PJs, driving Rolls, building badass companies, if you can go back in time to the personal trainer Edmund that maybe didn't have much financial responsibility, maybe he had a lower self-esteem, maybe he didn't have the belief that he had today, what would the Edmund today tell that Edmund to accelerate his life?
Wow. There's so much FUD on the way up. FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? It's also why a homeowner won't buy it from you, right? You didn't do a good enough job. Your presentation didn't remove FUD. They still have a certain level of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, so they're not moving forward with you. On the way up, you've got all the doubters and haters and people trying to pull you back to like that normal life. They're like weirded out by the fact that you're not hanging out on the weekends anymore and this and that. And you need to just get better references, practice your daily affirmations, become a humble student. I could have made millions of dollars in my 20s. I had the skill set to do it. I had the work ethic to do it. I always was the top producer in every little MLM or business venture. But it doesn't matter how talented and skilled you are. It doesn't matter how hardworking you are. Your emotional intelligence will get in the way of your success every single time. You will not become a millionaire in 6 months. Easy come, easy go. The formula is there. When things get tough, you want to double down in the valleys. I would tell young Edmund, double down in the valleys. Stop chasing peaks. Stop being impressed by some guy that's 10 years your senior that has a little bit more than you that's in your ear. Guys, if somebody's spending more than 15 minutes convincing you of anything, child, please. They're broke too. You're like, Steven doesn't pay attention to me. He doesn't spend time with me, blah, blah, blah. And some like DM or regional or other VP gets in your ear. Steven can't help you go off and make $1 million is what I would have told young Edmund. I would have said, you need to pay attention and listen to Steven and practice some gratitude for having the opportunity to work with him. But then you also need to take accountability and go create your success. And when something doesn't go your way in the marketplace, it's okay. And instead of thinking that you're getting taken advantage of, change your perspective a little bit. If you can look for the good and take accountability and work and focus on what you can control, you won't end up being a 30-year-old loser like I was, which is still a dreamer, still talking about making $1 million, still blah, 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 with nothing to show for it. I really plateaued my entire 20s at 20, 30, 40 grand a month. That's all I made, working my ass off, 100% responsible for my efforts. And guess where I ended up? Burnt out, giving up on entrepreneurship, training for my first amateur fight. How many people in solar do you know right now that are burnt out? They know everything, they have nothing, and it's almost kind of like, Too bad, so sad.
Too many, unfortunately.
So I would tell young Edmund, plant your flag, create your success. The best leaders are the best followers. Find someone that has a proven track record, that's living the life you want, that potentially isn't, doing half the stuff you see on my Instagram. Find what you resonate with. Find some substance. I would say Steven's great. And lock in. And don't expect anything from your upline or anyone. Figure out how you can add value. I know we're wrapping up, but my last relationship, my last solar company, my business partner ended up becoming my best friend. But it's easy to be friends with people like me. I go out of my way to give more than I take without expecting anything in return. But I didn't adopt that until I turned 30. And I think it was one of the biggest pivotal points in my life where I was going to become the provider. I'm not talking about a signing bonus. I'm not talking about a better margin, lower red line, inheriting a team, this, that. No. I'm talking about rolling up your sleeves, going out there, doing the work, and creating your success, and not letting anything get in the way of that. And knowing that if there's anything that's getting in the way of that, it's you. And that can become your superpower. It can become your advantage point. If that's your new perspective and viewpoint, you're going to win.
If it's meant to be, it's up to me.
10 words to live by, baby.
Dude, thank you so much. Where can people get connected if they want to follow more?
Edmund Bayard on Instagram. Take the good, take what you like, leave out the rest. Try not to judge too much. Hopefully I don't bring out any of your insecurities. And, I shout out to Les Brown, George Frazier, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Jeffrey Combs. There's so many great people out there that you can decide to study rather than like watching the next reel or going out on the weekends with the boys, drinking, partying, wasting your health and adrenals to party to then start all over again on Monday. Child, please.
Love it. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Again, trust, comment, and subscribe if you got value. We'll see you guys on the next episode.